Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. And let me know if you can hear me in the chat. Thanks for joining the live stream. I just wanted us to hang out for maybe 20 minutes or so just to react to a few videos I came across online that I found very interesting. And I really do believe we're at the stage now where a lot more people are waking up. Yeah, put a one in the chat if you can hear me. I'm going to be checking the mute button as we go along. I may speak for a couple of minutes on mute just to warn you, but I'm going to try to avoid that at all costs. So yeah, some people have been posting things online where they're coming to the realization that we have been duped. This whole gender identity thing where it's been put out there as some sort of social justice cause, where it's been put out there as, equating it to social justice movements of the past. We've really been had, I believe. And I think people are getting to the point now where they're understanding the consequences of people being able to identify themselves into the opposite sex, especially men being able to identify themselves into supposedly being women. People are now realizing the consequences, and it's not good. It's not good that it's taken this long and it's been able to get this far. But this is the reality of the situation, and it's affecting women and children, and even men who stand up for women and children. We've heard about people getting arrested for things they've posted online, people being threatened with action, legal action, or having the police literally knock at their door because they misgendered somebody online on Twitter or something, or on X. And this is the issue that we're dealing with today. So I hope everyone can hear me. Let me just double check the chat. The chat doesn't seem to be updating. Hi, Helena. I'm very sorry for your loss, the destroyer to trolls. Thank you for joining us here today. Thank you, Shannon. Great. Okay, I just had to double check, especially as I have a tendency to be talking and no one can hear me. So let's react to this first one. I believe this mother, she was supervising some kids, and a dude walked into the bathroom, and you get a sense of she's thinking, wow, is this really happening? So let's take a look at this one.
So today I was a chaperone for Enzo's field trip. So this is third grade, right? So we go to the science center, and obviously, like, the first stop is we go to the restrooms. So I had my group and I took them to the restrooms, and the boys went to the restroom, so I took the girls. So I went in, we're in the restroom, whatever. The girls go in the stalls. So me and another mom were waiting outside the stalls just because we were going to go next.
Some people are saying the sound is a bit off. Let me double check. It's not open anywhere else. Let me start again and let me know if the sound is still off. Hopefully it's not on anywhere. I'm just going to close it everywhere else. I'll try that again.
So today I was a chaperone for Enzo's field trip. So this is third grade, right? So we go to the science center, and obviously, like, the first stop is we go to the restrooms. So I had my group and I took them to the restrooms, and the boys went to the restroom, so I took the girls. So I went in, we're in the restroom, whatever. The girls go in the stalls. So me and another mom were waiting outside the stalls just because we were going to go next. And the stall opens, the handicap stall opens, and a grown man walked out of the women's restroom, like the stall. And I was like speechless because I could not believe that there was a man in the women's restroom and there's little girls in there with us. Walks out of the women's restroom. And it was so, like, I just stood there in complete shock because I was like, what is he doing in here? And he walked out. He looked like he was high on something because his eyes are all glossy. And he would, like, just have this blank stare. And I looked at him and I said, dude, you're in the wrong restroom. And he just, like, walked past us and didn't say anything. So the other mom, like, opened the stall to make sure there was nobody. So the other mom, like, opened the stall to make sure there was nobody else in there. Thank God there was nobody else in there. So I take my group out. I find a staff member. I tell him what happened. He's like, okay, how does he look? I tell him what he's wearing. And yeah, like, so he's like, okay, let me get a manager. So the manager comes and he's like, oh, you know, they asked me what school I was with. So I told him, and then I told him what happened. And he's like, well, all our bathrooms are all gender. And I'm like, okay, but your sign says women's. It says women's and men's. It doesn't say all gender. He's like, well, our policy is it's all gender. Like, he had an attitude with me, and I'm like, okay, I understand that, but he was not disguised as a woman, and he was in the women's restroom with little girls in there. And he said, he looked at me up and down, he's like, well, that's your opinion. And he walked away from me, and I was like, are you joking? Like, as a manager, like, that's your answer? There's... So that was the manager's response was, looked at me up and down and said, that is your opinion. It wasn't, ma'am, I apologize, you know, this is our policy. Yes.
Sorry, guys. Let me know if it's still echoing. I've muted where I think the sound may be coming from. Yeah, let me know.
Yes, it is for all genders, but again, for the safety of the children, because that should be number one, is the safety of the children, especially at a science center. Like, you literally have schools there every single day. I just cannot believe that. So I will be making a complaint, because that's not okay. Like, I just, as a mom of two boys, I don't have daughters, and I was so upset that a grown man was in the restroom with little girls present. And so I will not be going to the science center, and I will be making a complaint, and I will be going above this guy. I got his name and everything. And the other mom actually complained too, and she says she got the same answer, like he had an attitude. So, yeah. And before anybody says anything about all genders and LGBTQ and all that, that has nothing to do with it. Like, I have family members that are gay, and I have nothing against that. What I have a problem with is not putting children's safety first before them. Children come first no matter what. The safety of children. I don't care. Argue with me if you want, but if that was their policy to have, is it all gender bathrooms, then there should be an all gender restroom, and then men and women for children that use the restroom for girls and for boys. So, yeah.
All right, guys. I'm not sure why that was echoing. I've cut off another place where it was streaming. So I'm hoping that might solve the issue. Hopefully you can hear me okay now, though. So yeah, pretty ridiculous hearing stories like that. Yeah, all blue states are mostly run by evil people. Well, they're run by people who think it's okay to allow men into the women's bathroom, into bathrooms with girls and children, and they seem to think there's a justification for that, which is insane. I'm pretty sure those science centers have nothing to do with biology. It's probably more like experiments, chemistry, that kind of thing. Yeah, it is ironic that it's the science center that she's talking about there. And clearly they're of the belief that a man can be a woman to the extent where there's no boundaries whatsoever. Yeah, I'm not sure why it was echoing. Hopefully the next one won't echo as much. She did give an update. I believe she did make the complaint. So let's see.
So I just want to give an update. A complaint was made
Remove that one. Let's try that again.
yesterday. I just want to give an update. A complaint was made. I made it yesterday. I'm supposed to hear back in 24 hours. So once I get an update, I will post it. But a complaint was made, and my issue is, I just want to make it very clear, is the way the manager handled the situation is the problem. He did not ask if the girls were okay, was anybody traumatized, if they were uncomfortable. No, he never asked the well-being of the students. So I just want to make that very clear. He let his own personal beliefs come in between his supervising manager position. That's why when I had told the manager, like, the man wasn't disguised as a woman, that's when he told me, well, that's your opinion. And he looked at me up and down, and walked away from me. I wasn't done talking to him. He removed himself and walked away from me. So that just shows you he does not care. And just know, I am going above and beyond. I am going to take this all the way to the top as much as I can, because the safety of children is just my number one priority. I'm a mom. I don't have daughters, but I don't care. Like, if your children are with me, they are safe. And unfortunately, I don't know the parents of the girls that were in my group. Maybe I could find out. But I am going to, so we're on Thanksgiving break next week. So once we return back, I am going to speak to the principal. I am going to go to our district and let them know what happened. But I will post an update once I hear back about my complaint. And, like I said, I am taking this all the way to the top. I'm not playing about this.
Okay, so that's good to hear that she's not going to let that go. And it is the attitude that we've seen on display when it comes to situations like this. The sense of entitlement, and the people who back these men who go into the bathroom as well, the people who support all of this, they cannot seem to understand that men shouldn't be in bathrooms with little girls for some reason, or they're just playing dumb, really. That's usually what it is. It does seem hopeless, but thankfully, more and more people are becoming, just fed up with this, and they're not letting it slide anymore. You can't convince anybody that this is the compassionate thing to do, that this is how we look out for the vulnerable. No one's buying that anymore. The fact is, it's not compassionate towards the women, towards the little girls, towards the children in general. And people are, understanding that. So the manager said they were unisex. Well, a lot of the time, that's how they get around it. They basically make everything unisex. And it can still say, this is the girls, or the women's, this is the men's. But when they want to allow people to identify themselves into a women's space, they essentially make everything unisex. So, but I'm glad she isn't letting it slide, and she made her complaint. It's really best to address these issues so that they know that people aren't happy with this. They're not happy with the situation, and they don't allow it to continue. So I'll check this next video. Hopefully it doesn't echo. So let's see. I just wanted to read this comment as well, which I thought was a really good reaction to this. Hopefully you can see this. So this was, so Wesley Yang said the following. Let's see, it's not showing for some reason. Can you see this tweet? Let me remove this. I'll come back to that.
So
No, that's not it. Okay, good. I saved this for another video. That's why it says Brooks Lusser. So Wesley says Helen Joyce closed her book on transgenderism from 2021 with a prediction that as ordinary people find out what trans inclusion means in practice, it will become increasingly less popular and eventually prove untenable. It means forbidding any woman from drawing a boundary between herself and any man who says he is a woman, and punishing her if she objects. It means brainwashing her daughters to welcome men in their private spaces and to hate and fear and inform on their mother to authorities who will punish her if she objects. The process has been slow because the trans identified population is small and most normal people have not had experiences like these. But the number who have is growing all the time. And the polling aligns with Joyce's predictions. So I thought that was very interesting, a very interesting take there. And I'm wondering if you guys have heard of that book, Helen Joyce, yeah. And I think that's what it comes down to, more and more people who haven't even probably given this any thought. Like I do videos on this sort of thing, but the everyday person, they're just going about their business. They're just trying to get on with their life, pay their bills, put food on the table. They're not thinking about these things. And they might think that people like me are just, it's not a big deal. There's not that many. What does it matter? Let people live how they want to live. That was the attitude that a lot of people have taken. But when you actually have to deal with this in everyday life, like when your daughter comes home from school and says that there's a boy on the opposing team, or they're allowing boys into the locker room. I've got like younger relatives over in the UK who said that they don't even have at one point they were saying that they don't even have a girl's bathroom. It's just boys can go in there. That's changed now, I believe. But, just a couple of years ago, that wasn't the case. And so when it's more close to home, it really is a huge wake-up call for people. And on top of that, when you encounter somebody who's just doesn't give any thought to how it affects you personally as a woman, how it affects parents, they turn around and treat you like you're the aggressor. They treat you like you're the bigot. You're the one who is, some sort of threat because you don't believe a man is a woman. When you encounter that in real life, it really does bring it home how far things have gone and how ridiculous things have become, to the point where they're willing to jeopardize the safety of other groups of people just to affirm somebody's gender identity. And the fact is, we all have rights based on sex. Whether you're male or female, we all have rights based on that. And that is more than enough. It's when we decided that that wasn't enough anymore that we are finding where we're at today. So let's have a look at some of when you come across a man in a woman's bathroom, you should probably not confront them, but talk to the manager of the establishment. Yeah, I totally understand, why people advise that. Like, you should just be careful and not. Because you just don't know. You just don't know. And, when you think about Tish, she did confront that man, Grant, I believe, in the women's locker rooms. But then you come to find out that he has a history of violence against, he was convicted of a violent crime against his ex-wife. When you find things like that out, it's very unsettling. And that's when you realize it goes beyond, just a man dressing up as a woman and going into the women's locker room. They're opening up people to literal predators, opening up women to, you don't know who's coming into the women's bathroom. And obviously, it is the women who are vulnerable because, that man can easily overpower her. And it's just taken away the protection that women need in those spaces. So let's take a look at Amy's video. She breaks down you know, the importance of setting boundaries as well, following on from that tweet that we just heard. Yeah, let me know how the sound is with this one as well.
Good morning, friends. Welcome to Coffee Talk. And welcome to my morning hair. But today,
I like the way she said coffee there. Great accent. Yeah, let me know if this is echoing. Hopefully it's not, but I'm not really sure what else I can do. So we'll see.
I want to talk about Tish Hyman. Her story is continuing to go viral. She is reigniting a conversation about women's privacy, boundaries, and our ability to talk about this. So
Okay, let me just double check where else this could be coming from. I'm going to try and see if this works.
Good morning, friends. Welcome to Coffee Talk. And welcome to my morning hair. But today I want to talk about Tish Hyman. Her story is continuing to go viral. She is reigniting a conversation about women's privacy, boundaries, and our ability to talk about this. So she recently did an interview. I want to show you this clip, and I want to show you 3 things that she did really well that we all need to be doing. So let's watch the clip.
I don't want to get so into it, but I think there's sometimes a bit of a sick motive, especially when I see someone like that, who is very clearly a man, who only just wants to be in the female locker rooms. I wonder why. I mean, he's genuinely, that guy's cosplaying a woman. He's just thinking, oh, I'll put a crop top on and apparently I'm a woman. And that's very, very insulting.
Yes, and let me make this plain. Women deserve boundaries, period. We deserve safety, privacy, and respect. And I'm not going to sit quietly while those rights are rewritten or dismissed. It's just like they're using civil rights as a mask, and black blood was not spilled for this. Black blood was spilled for civil rights, not to be used as a mockery or a shield for policies that erase women's voices. Our mothers and grandmothers marched so we could speak, not to be silent. So I will not be silent, and I don't think any woman should be. Let me say this to all the women of America, all the women of the world. Stop calling them trans women. They're not women. They are men. We need to take away the civil rights from them and give them the same rights as every other man. They're just men, and some men wear dresses, and that's okay. They're not in any danger. There's nothing to see here, and it needs to be stopped. The sooner we stop programming ourselves to call them women when they're nothing to do with women, the sooner we can see them for who they are. Men in dresses. We don't care what their sexual orientation is. It doesn't matter. We don't care if they're crazy, if they're not. It doesn't matter. They're men, and that is it. They don't need any extra human rights. They don't need any reason to be tied into our reproductive rights or anything. They're just men. They're men and they're women. There's no trans nothing. There's men, there's women. Some men wear dresses, some women wear beards, and it's all good.
Okay, before we hear Amy's analysis, great analysis there. I'm hearing that, I'm seeing that the echo has gone, hopefully. So thanks for that, guys. Yeah, thanks for that. So let's hear Amy's take on that. But very well said there by Tish. I think we were all bamboozled for a long time with this whole trans woman the language we had been conditioned to use basically screwed us over. And that's part of why we're at where we're at now. But now, we've gone through all sorts of terminology when it comes to this sort of thing. But we just continue to remind ourselves that a man can never be a woman. There's no such thing as a trans woman is not a subset of women, it's a subset of men. And we can call them men. It's as simple as that. I think clarity is so important. Language is so important and so powerful that because we have chosen certain terminology, it has literally conditioned people to think a certain way. And we look at these, men who compete in women's sports or go into our bathrooms, and they're still considered vulnerable. This is what I can't get over. And it's because we use terminology like trans women, as if to say this is a type of woman who is just finding out who she is. And we have to have sympathy for this woman. That's how we've been conditioned because of the language. A big part of it is the language. So let's continue.
One, she does an amazing job of calling out the forced teaming of civil rights and quote unquote trans rights. She says no black blood was spilt for this. The forced teaming is putting two disparate things together that do not have anything to do with one another. the civil rights issues, Black oppression, slavery has nothing to do with men who make new identity claims. Two, she says our foremothers fought for this. Our foremothers fought for us to have rights, to be loud, to speak out about this. Absolutely. That is what our foremothers did on the basis of sex, not for identity claims. And three, and the absolute most important, call these men men. There are no trans people. There are men, there are women, there are men who take actions and steps and drugs and cosmetic surgery, and there are women who do the same thing. There are people who do more, there are people who do less, but all these people are simply men and women. We need to say that. We need to stop the linguistic manipulations. Stop the linguistic manipulations. Call men men and women women. No matter how much they have disguised their secondary sex characteristics, no matter how much they are sex mimicking, no matter how much they are deceiving others about their sex, no matter how effective they are at it, men are men and women are women. There are no other kinds of human beings. There are adult human males, adult human females, and children, children who are male, children who are female. This is the only kind of human being that exists. Stop the manipulation, stop the cognitive disruption, stay grounded in your adaptive instincts and in reality. This is your coffee talk for today. Discuss.
Very well said there. Very well said. And it is, what does she call it? Linguistic manipulation, I believe. That's exactly what it was. And it's been going on for many years now. And even till today, women are still afraid to refer to such people as being men. Everybody, a lot of people are still afraid to just say these are men because we've been told that it's unkind. And that's a lie. It's not unkind to refer to a man as being a man. It isn't. And if you want to dress a certain way or, live your life a certain way, this is America. No one's stopping you. But don't put that on others where they have to look at you as being a different biological sex from what you are. It's not a secret either. The video I did yesterday about Brooke Slusser, till this day, these liberal news outlets accuse her of outing the person. And that's just, as if to say she's incompassionate and, she just ruthlessly outed this individual. No, this person is male. This person is a man, and there's nothing wrong with acknowledging that. The whole time, she thought something was off, and then it became apparent. No one even looked at the situation and had compassion upon her because she was sharing accommodation with a man, and they didn't even have the decency to tell her. They didn't even have, the respect to tell her that this person is male. Undressing in front of a male the whole time, living with this person, sharing hotel rooms with this person. They skated over that and just went to the fact that, or whatever they believed, that she outed the person. It's ridiculous. You can't out somebody's biological sex. It is what it is. It's been that way from the moment, it was decided in the womb that this person was either male or female. And it's no secret. The fact that we've been told that it's a secret, being convinced of that, is just another lie. So, yeah, very good linguistic manipulation. NHS in the UK calling breastfeeding chest feeding. Don't even get me started on that. That is one of the worst things to come out of this whole situation. Men, abusing babies, essentially. They try to normalize that and justify it. Absolutely sick. Based alert. Amy is very based, yes. He's a man. I'll shout it from the rooftops. Till this day, SJSU haven't admitted that the volleyball player in question is actually male. And they claim it's for privacy purposes. Absolutely ridiculous. So I've got one more video to react to before we wrap this up. And this isn't about someone who's necessarily, identifies a certain way, but it's a kind of an example of the dilemma that business owners face when they come across a parent who anything goes when it comes to their child, when it comes to, you know, and this is a situation where a boy came in wanting to, or a parent came in with their boy, with their son, and they wanted him to get acrylics done. And she was like, no, I don't even think it was for any reason other than she doesn't think it's appropriate for boys to be exposed to, or any child to be exposed to acrylics. Just not. I think it was a 9-year-old. So let's take a look at this one.
Year-old boy getting acrylics will never be okay. And I know and I understand that
It's just
but a 9-year-old boy getting acrylics will never be okay in my chair. Sad to say that I just had to turn away a client because she wanted to get her 9-year-old son's nails done. And I know and I understand that in today's times, people are who they are, but a 9-year-old boy getting acrylics will never be okay in my chair. I'm so sorry. I had to have words. We went back and forth, but at the end of the day, respect is respect, and we respected each other, and she respected my space. But I'm coming on here to tell you guys this. I will no longer be doing kids' nails under the age of 16 unless you are accompanied by an adult, and I will no longer be doing, not press-ons, I'm sorry. I will be no longer doing acrylics for anyone underneath that age as well. 9 years old, a boy, Frenchies. Absolutely not. Never will happen in my case. We have to think about, guys, people are offing themselves because of being bullied at school. If I put acrylics, because for some reason she just wasn't understanding this, if I put acrylics on your 9-year-old son's nails and he goes to school and he can't just rip those things off, it'll be a mess. If he goes and get bullied, he might come and despise me in the next couple years, and he will never forget me. He will never forgive me because it happened at such a young age and he doesn't know anything about forgiveness. Like, it gets to a point, man. And I'm not in this chair as much as I used to be, thank God. But I do know the clients that I will and will not take. And that's something I just will not accept. And I'm sorry if I'm wrong. I understand that she was just trying to be a good parent and support her child. And I do know, because I am a lesbian, I do know that mothers, parents know how their child is going to end up, without saying too many words, before they come out and say it. This little boy isn't going around wearing wigs. He's not going around skirts and skirts. No, he still looks like a presentable little boy. He has a little sass to him, but I think any little boy or any kid that grows up in a household with just his mother or aunts would end up to be. That doesn't make him quote unquote anything. So yeah, that threw me off. That just threw me off. I don't know.
wow. I can't imagine a 9-year-old with acrylics. I don't even get acrylics because it's too restrictive. Like she said, he can't just take it off. If he starts, catching some flack because he's got acrylics, he can't just take them off and be like, oh, okay, maybe not. Yeah. So good on her for turning away, that parent and saying no. And that's a decent rule at the age of 16 and under, no acrylics. I think that's perfectly reasonable. But I just can't imagine. I can't imagine. And like she said, parents, or some parents, think that they're being supportive when they introduce their kids to these sort of things. But it's so unnecessary. And I like the way she said that, maybe the parent has an inkling to believe the child is going to end up a certain way. But let's just take the child for who they are. This is a boy, and we don't need to steer them down an unnecessary path. That's it. Let's see what your thoughts are. The nail technician has more ethics than the doctors prescribing puberty blockers to children. Absolutely. Absolutely. Transphobic is not the fear of trans, it's the honest phobia of what they want to do. I mean, a woman in the bathroom, a man walks in. it's not an irrational fear to be concerned about that. For some reason, they've tried to convince us that it is because of identity. Yep. Grooming, that's grooming a child straight up. Manicures for an 8-year-old boy. Yep. This 9-year-old, but either way, yep. Just, and again, acrylics, the chemicals, the bonding. No, excuse my nails. Just no. Yep. I just honestly, I do feel for business owners. One video I did was about the Korean spa. They got taken to court, had a 2-year legal battle because they said to a dude who walked in, sir, you cannot go to the women's section of the spa because there are women there in the nude. So no, you cannot go there. And they get taken to court, and now the staff have to go through training. I guess they felt they had no choice but to settle out of court. And he's essentially allowed into the whatever section he wants to go in now. And they have to go through training to understand gender identity. So at the same time, I do feel for these business owners too. What do? You know, do you just basically allow your business to be destroyed? Or do you try and compromise with these people? What? Not everyone can afford to fight it in court all the way, obviously. I don't know who's backing these people as well, because they always seem to have funds for these legal battles and they don't back down. They really don't. So it's really concerning. Hello, Uta. Transphobia is a term invented by Davina and Gabrielle, a man who ideated a female persona, decades later regretting it all, saying its social contagion hurt a lot of women. Wow. Wow, yeah. When you realize the origin of a lot of these things, it's mind-blowing. It really is. Like, you know, I don't even want to say the word, like the term cis and things like that. When you look at the origin of these sort of things, it's just, how did we get to this point where we continued it and ran with it? How did we get to this point? Business owners are stuck between crazed employees and narcissistic male customers demanding to go into women's spaces. Yep. And unfortunately, when they say no, they're going to have to face the legal consequences. They're going to risk being taken to court. Don't get me wrong. I do believe we need to see more businesses just say no and not go along with it. But, you know, you've had a 2-year legal battle. I can't, you know, you have to have some understanding, especially when you think about this is somebody's livelihood. You know, how far did they take it? My biggest worry, can I pick my nose with acrylic nails? Well, the fact is acrylics are too restrictive. So yeah, can you imagine a child being restricted like that? So yeah, I thought we'll just, you know, react to those few videos. I don't think there's anything else I wanted to show you guys. Well, let me not make sure there's no echo anymore. Let's see some of the comments under that one. Not sure why it's not sharing this. Let me double check. Every time I try to share something outside of what I've already pre-planned, it doesn't share it. Try this again. Okay, it should be sharing it now. So we get comments like this. Did they get bullied as kids when they painted their nails? You know, this is the sort of thing that's just ridiculous. Yes, we know in the 90s and the 80s we had the I don't know what it's called, but yeah, guys like this who dressed a certain way, flamboyant or whatever. What does that have to do with this 9-year-old boy getting acrylics? Like, stop. Those are adults. And you don't know if they were doing that at 9, which is highly unlikely. Don't be obtuse. So I just find comments like that. You do get comments like that a lot when it comes to this sort of thing. Good for her. Yep. She's right, but people are still going to twist this into some hate crime somehow. Why are adults scared to set boundaries for kids? Yeah, that's definitely an issue. We have to remember we're not our kids' friend per se. We have to set boundaries as parents. And it's okay to say no. No, you are not a girl. You are a boy. Again, they've convinced parents that that's bigotry. And that's going to harm the child somehow. I agree with not putting nails on boys or kids under the age of 16, not to mention the safety factor. He could have his actual nails ripped off by a kid or while playing. Yes, you accidentally bend those. You can almost guarantee there will be nail bed damage, especially for a child with, much more softer nails to begin with. Yeah. 100% right move. This nonsense has to stop. The parents should know better. They play stupid or become stupid by woke brainwashing. Yep, have to agree. So, yeah, before we go, we'll see if there's any more comments. And then we'll wrap it up there, I think. So thanks, everyone. Oh, I didn't see what the... Once in a while, a girl in my kindergarten class brought in nail polish and makeup and started putting it on the other girls. I had to make a big rule about what comes to school in the backpacks. Yep, teachers have to set boundaries as well. And obviously that's just a distraction when you when kids are focused on things like makeup and all of that in the classroom. It's just a distraction. So, yeah, you guys are... So, yeah, I found those videos very interesting. And yeah, I think it's people are waking up to this insanity and how we have to set boundaries. I think that will be the theme of today. Don't be afraid to set boundaries. Women are allowed to set boundaries. Sorry, not sorry, obviously. And that's what we need to remember. So thanks for joining me on the live today. And moderators, Jenna and Alexis, I tried to add you, but it wouldn't allow me. So for some reason, it's not recognizing your YouTube channel name. So I'm going to go and look for your channels and maybe put in the actual name of the YouTube page instead, and maybe that will work. But thank you for everybody who messaged me and said you want to be a moderator. As you can tell, definitely need some moderators, especially to tell me when the sound is off and all of that kind of thing. So I'll let you guys know. And yeah, I think that's it for today. And have a great rest of your day, everyone. Thanks for supporting the channel. Thanks for joining the membership and all of the super thanks and things like that. I really appreciate the support. So so take care of yourselves, and God willing, I will see you in the next video.